delay. Can you see the screen I'm sharing, guys? Please let us know. You can see the screen I'm sharing. We've
Excellent.
had
All
some
right.
delay here.
Sorry about that, guys. We had some technical difficulties. Don't know what happened there, but I am here and let's get going, Matthew. We just actually had NVIDIA earnings, so let's take
We
a
had
look at what's
NVIDIA
going on.
earnings. But yeah, we'll get to that. Omar, can you see my screen?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, cool. So, guys, so sorry, starting about 5 minutes late, 7 minutes late. This is the Theta Alpha Fund update. Investment managers Corton Capital, and here we are, Omar Khan and myself, Matthew Todman. David Jarvis sends his regrets, but all is well. If you are going to be catching this on YouTube, if you do want to watch this, this will be on YouTube, posted over the next day or so. That will be great. All right, so let's continue here, guys. I don't want to waste you guys' time. We did start a little bit late, but like we will give you an update of where we are at. Let's continue on here. So the agenda for today, we are obviously Mag 7 heavy, and for better or for worse. And within the Mag 7, there's a lot of focus on data centers, right? Indeed, some of the companies have literally named a segment of their business data center revenue, right? So, it is very important. So, let's going to kind of go over what exactly that looks like, right? Or at least roughly what that looks like. Maybe not exactly what that looks like, but roughly what that looks like.
And also, why is Donald Trump so fixated on getting Canada to be the 51st state? That may have a lot to do with this whole data center thing. Data centers, as we're going to find out, they require a lot of energy. And who has a lot of energy? Canada has a lot of energy. So let's keep going, Matthew.
Absolutely. All right. We'll then go over our outstanding positions and what we are looking forward to in the weeks ahead. Okay. Okay. So the data center, I mean, like, so we see this on the balance sheets of our respective companies, and it'll see like, property, plant, and equipment. It'll say like, that those can house the data centers, the physical facility where organizations store and manage their essential applications and data, right? And these can be massive facilities, right? And it relies on a network of computing and storage resources, and includes routers, switches, firewalls, storage systems, servers, basically all the stuff. Like, I mean, when you say things go into the cloud, Omar, they don't really go into the cloud, do they? They go to a data center,
They go
right?
to data center, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's not
all your
really into the cloud. It's more like over to the data center, right?
right
Which is considered the
information,
cloud.
yeah, information used to be stored on things like your hard drive or a USB stick. And now that's been all moved to the cloud. So all the data that we need has all been moved to a cloud. Now, more importantly, what is a data center? What is the new function of a data center? Well, what it is imagine you want to start OpenAI, right? Which is ChatGPT. Okay. Well, ChatGPT needs to know how to act and behave like a human being. Well, what it has to do is it has to gather a lot of data. That data, okay, how humans talk, what they do, how to respond. You have to amass all of the human knowledge into one aggregated place, and then you have to have chip processors to process that data. And then you have to train it to act that way. And it's supposed to get infinitely smarter. That requires a lot of data. So that essentially, at the beginning point, is what it is. So another thing is, why are these chips so important? For what reason are the chips so important? Well, the chips are so important is because whoever has more processing power, whoever can make the best model, well, they'll win the artificial intelligence race. So this is really important. So you need a few things. You need chip processors, you need energy, and you actually need the data. So you need a few different things. So that, in essence, is what a data center is. So let's keep going, Matthew. Let's get more granular into what a data center is.
All right, so let's keep moving on here. All right? So, why are they important, right? Well, they help building, right? Like, file sharing, productivity tools, CRMs. Like, for example, like, we maintain a CRM of people that are unit holders of this fund, right? It is in a cloud somewhere, right? That's in a data center. ERP planning, and certainly last but not least, but big data AI and machine learning, right? That's the kind of the existing main driver, you could say, right? Also virtual desktops, communication, collaborative services, all these things need to be stored somewhere, right? It's not like, the idea of this going to, oh, it's not, I don't need to have like a hard drive on my desk. Yeah, but it's going somewhere, and somewhere has this kind of hardware and this infrastructure. And these are what these data centers are, for lack of another term, right?
Mhm.
Um, so the importance, right? Well, cloud applications, right? These things need to be held somewhere, right? Processing big data and powering machine learning and AI. Those two, I'd say, are the main ones, right? Obviously, e-commerce, very important. Online gaming communities, uber important. Like all that is not like, my son plays video games on an whatever the hell he plays it on, or Xbox, or what's the other one? PS10 or something, 5, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, you're really on top of the gaming thing. I can tell you're a big gamer.
I'm a big gamer. The last game I played with any vigor was Frogger.
Yes, that's been a while.
Do you still have Frogger?
I'm not sure if they still have Frogger.
I don't think so.
But the point
But
is,
anyways,
the games now are far more
it's far
complicated.
more complicated than this little frog, like, leaping across the
Right.
road, right? Managing data storage, backups, and recovery, obviously, is very important, right? Real-time medical imaging, diagnosis, and research, right? Like I don't know about you, like I have. Omar, do you have this thing called Pocket Health in your phone?
I do not.
So Pocket Health is literally an app which you download, and as your results are looked at by a radiologist, it'll pop up there and you can read the results right off your phone immediately in real time.
Yeah, and these type of things are just starting, right? Right now, we're still in the old age. They're gonna move forward to the new age where everything is going to change. So, for example, as Matthew said, if you have something that you need diagnosed and where your old health records, well, that's going to be stored again on the cloud, right? Your old health records will be stored. Your doctor or whoever's seeing you will be able to look at the old stuff on the cloud. Now, look at the last one: enabling autonomous vehicles in real-time maps. Well, how do you enable autonomous vehicles? We're starting to see them now, right? You saw Tesla just released full self-driving in China. Well, what does that mean? Full self-driving is a very complicated thing to solve. You're asking a car to drive around by itself, and if you're old timers like Matthew and myself, it just seems so weird. How could a car drive around by itself? Well, these new cars, well, Tesla especially, they have lots of cameras. Okay, the cameras look around and see what's going on, and they record data, crashes, lane changes, what to do here, what to do there. They want to mimic a human. So how do you do that? Well, the way you do that is you aggregate all the data from all of the cars. So Tesla will take all of their data and they'll aggregate it. That's billions of miles of data, billions of kilometers of data. That data gets housed on a cloud. And then from there, it has to be trained. That's a large language model. It has to be trained to mimic and act like a human being. That requires a lot of processing power. So whoever has the best processors, okay, Nvidia, perhaps AMD, this is what is used to interpret or train and understand and to mimic a human driver. So this is the next evolution of what we're looking at: real-time maps. You're driving around, you see, okay, well, there's an accident on the road. How do you know there's an accident on the road? Well, again, that's on the cloud. So this is only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And again, like I said, these data centers are going to require immense amount of energy, and immense amount of processing power. So whoever has the most energy and the most processing power will win this race, and that race is going to lead to very large economic gains. So if you look at the race between, let's say, the United States and China, why is the United States not allowing China access to the best chips in the world? Well, it's because they want to win this race. China doesn't have the technology. Um, so the chip making a chip is harder to do than perhaps even creating nuclear technology. It's that difficult. So it's going to take a while. But that's essentially what a data center is. And these data centers are going to pop up all around the country. Most likely in cold weather climates that have close proximity to large amounts of energy. Now, what forms of energy, we don't quite know yet. You know, is it going to be nuclear? Well, nuclear takes a long time to build. You don't just build a nuclear power plant in 2 days. Some of these data centers, like if it's a decent sized data center, it's going to require the same amount of energy or more than the power it requires to power 1 million homes. That's a lot of power required. Where do you get all this power from? Nuclear takes a long time. So what do? Well, maybe you take coal. Coal hasn't died yet. Maybe you take natural gas. Maybe you take oil. Maybe you take solar and wind. And solar and wind right now are the cheapest, along with batteries. Solar wind batteries are the cheapest, but they're not in mass production yet. They're starting to get there, but they're not quite there yet. So this is moving really rapidly right now. And these data centers are going to start popping up everywhere. There's more data centers under construction right now than actually exist today. So it's really interesting to see how this is going. But that is the importance of data centers. They're going to be everywhere. Let's keep going, Matthew.
Let's continue on here. Okay, what are the core components? Well, you have network infrastructure is the physical and virtual servers. Like these are real, like, tangible things. Storage infrastructure, and computing resources, right? The chips and processing power, storage, network connectivity, etc., etc. So these are like, you think I always make sometimes these things are not the easiest things to imagine, but like I almost imagine like a warehouse that used to hold, like, remember we had the big Canadian Tire warehouses that used to have, like, you used to see them from the highway, right?
Yep.
And they'll basically house the stuff that Canadian Tire sells. And I always kind of envision that, and instead of instead of tires and like lawnmowers and God knows what, it is, the inventory or the capacity is technology, right? And that is where the technology is housed for people to access, right? So, yeah. All right. So when you see people and companies, actually not people, but companies making larger and larger investments into, data centers, that is why it is important. Okay. Um, yeah, so obviously several different types. Cloud. Well, let's focus on cloud data centers. This off-premises form of data center data and applications are hosted by a cloud service provider such as AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud or other cloud provider or other public cloud provider, right? Um, so yeah, like this, we just want to kind of educate you guys on what exactly is the spend, right? What is it being spent on? And here we can see, actually the next page, sorry, the next page. Where did it go here? Sorry, guys. Oh, sorry, I missed my spot here. All right, we'll talk about the impact just for a bit. The impact of AI on data centers, right? At their core, AI and machine learning algorithms excel at identifying patterns. We know this. They use insights to inform future tasks, automating and optimizing daily. Nearly every industry is seeking innovative AI capabilities. So this means that the data center is going to become, more and more popular destinations for this type of data, right? This because AI training deployment demand vast computing power and data storage. Simultaneously rising demand also necessitates that data centers adopt advanced technologies, including AI systems, to enhance efficiency, security, and overall performance, right? So this is adding on to what is being housed in the data centers, right? Now, these are all images. Like this is like probably an AI image. It's not like, probably not a real data center that looks like that,
But
although
it's not too far off of what it
it
looks
does look
like.
pretty, it does look pretty cool.
Yeah, but it's not also too far off. What you have, those stacks, those are servers stacked with tons and tons and tons of data processing. Let's say, for example, H100 Blackwell chips or AMD chips. Now they're processing all that data. They're processing it, and the quicker they process it, the more efficient it is. They require, as you can see here, they require cooling, lots of cooling. And let's say, for example, another data center example would be if you're mining, let's say, for example, Bitcoin. If you're mining Bitcoin, that also requires data centers with uh, lots of compute processing power. This is all evolving, and it's evolving very rapidly right now.
All right, so let's continue on here. So within our portfolio, we can see Amazon plans to allocate $100 billion of CapEx.
Which is
Most,
capital
most of it's
expenditure.
directed towards uh, artificial intelligence infrastructure, right? Microsoft, 85 billion in infrastructure in 2025. Alphabet, 75 billion. Meta, 60 to 65 billion. These are large numbers.
Yeah, they're huge numbers. So the question is, why are these companies spending this much money on these data centers? Well, they think they're going to get a pretty good return.
They
So
cannot get left behind either.
they don't want to get left behind. This could literally be existential if they don't keep up.
Yeah, they cannot get left behind. By expanding data center capabilities, these companies aim to meet growing demand of AI application services, positioning themselves for significant returns on their investments. They know that they don't want to go the way of the dodo bird, right? And they have to keep up. And this is good. Like at the end of the day, innovation is good, guys, right? Who knew you could have the entire world at your fingertips on a phone like 15 years ago, right? 15 years ago is not a long period of time, right? And look what's happened. Who knows what the next 15 years holds, right? And we believe that we're positioned well to take advantage of that, right? So, um,
We are positioned well, but what's going to happen? Our fund, we think, is going to do exceptionally well over the next number of years. However, there will also be a lot of volatility because it's something that if Wall Street is very fickle that way. If you don't do as good in one quarter or 2 quarters, Wall Street punishes your stock. But that doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't going to pay huge dividends down the road. And we're looking at the bigger picture. So there will be volatility, a lot of volatility as we see. Let's take a look at our number one position, Tesla. If you're training a car to drive by itself, well, if you miss in a quarter or two, they're releasing their first robo taxis starting in June in Austin, Texas. How do you release a robo taxi? A car that just has no steering wheel, that just shows up and picks you up and drives you around everywhere. Well, you have to train it to think like a human being, to drive like human. How does it know how to drive like human? Well, it has to gain experience. The good thing is it's going to gain experience from all of the data it currently exists. So there are millions of cars right now on the road that are collecting this data. This data then gets processed and trained to act like a human being. So it's a very evolving situation. Um, it's gonna be volatile environment, but that environment we think is gonna be it's gonna pay huge dividends down the road, and we think we're really well positioned to take advantage of this. But we know that we're gonna have more volatility than other funds, but we're okay with that.
so yeah, as you can see, the main positions here are Tesla and Microsoft, kind of opposite ends of the tech risk spectrum, if you would, right? Microsoft is kind of like this bellwether technology company, and Tesla is arguably, one of the more volatile in the portfolio. Actually, I think it is probably based on volatility, it probably has the highest volatility, I think. Maybe Nvidia, I don't know, depends, right? But
Yep.
it's definitely up there. Um, but yeah, so again, we are tech heavy. We are tech heavy because of stuff that emerges like these, literally hundreds of billions of dollars that are going to be spent on data centers and that are going to be all capitalized on the balance sheets of these companies to a certain degree. And they believe that those assets are going to have a significant future benefit, right? We do round out the portfolio a little bit, some Eli Lilly, um, and some Bitcoin. So it's 16 odd percent if you add the two of those to take things away from this AI play. But again, a lot of this is I would be hard pressed to believe that Eli Lilly either doesn't have AI or will be having it in the future. It's likely already using AI or will be in the future to do some of its operations. And I believe
Well,
almost every company will.
for example, Matthew, to solve disease, right? To solve different
Oh,
diseases.
crazy
Right
amount of
now,
computing power.
yeah, right now you have a human being, you have trial and error, you have clinical trials. This is how diseases are solved. You try one type of drug, does it work? Another type of drug, does it work? Imagine you have an AI human replica that is looking at these various diseases and how to solve them. And it's infinitely smarter than all human beings. Because why? Because it has all of the knowledge of humanity. Well, that requires a lot of data, right? So that's
Correct.
another example. And every one of these companies has an example of how they're going to train and benefit from artificial intelligence. So it's a very much an evolving situation. So for us, we think we're exceptionally well positioned for the future.
Yeah, like it's not all tech. It's not all Bitcoin. It's a little bit of each, and I think it's a little bit of each of, the most popular and innovative industries that we're on the edge of right now. Again, guys, just to be clear here, $1,000 minimum threshold to invest. I know most of you are investors here.
Got a,
A lot of people under OM products have a lot higher threshold, but we want to make this open to everybody. Um, we have right now, this is as of the 26th, 28 written puts. The current put exposure as a percentage of AUM, that's assuming everything gets assigned, is like 10%. That's a nice number in my opinion. We have about 20 covered calls that have been written, and we have about 11 positions, including IBIT. We're going to consider that as a stock. I know it's an ETF, but fair enough. And the average number of days is 25 days to expiration, guys. So yeah, we're comfortable with those metrics. We look at these metrics on a daily basis. Um, and yeah, we're mostly allocated. You see this here, current value of long stock plus written options is percent of AUM 96, which we always like to keep some. We like to be invested, but we like to keep a healthy cash position should opportunities arise, and we're slowly seeing opportunities arise right now. And we're gonna, it is a bit of a wait and see approach to see where this market bottoms out at. Today on the Nasdaq, it was a little bit flat for all intents and purposes, and we'll see, where this recent volatility that we've had is going to level itself out at, right? But again, we're not. This is not the fund for like, oh, I'm going to buy it today and sell it tomorrow. These are positions that we believe will do, very well over the months and years to come, right? And if our thesis changes, our thesis changes. But right now, we're quite happy with the positions we have. So yes, this is registered account eligible. You want to put this in your RSP, your TFSA, et cetera, et cetera. Absolutely. RIF, Lira. We see the fund code is CCI 705. The fee is 2.5. This is for growth. This is a growth and long-term horizon, guys, just to be very clear about this, because it does take on a higher level of risk, right? So you know this if you're investors in the fund, you've gone through your suitability and risk and conservation calls, all that kind of stuff. So this has been explained to you, and if you're interested, you can call any one of us.
Yeah, I want to reiterate something here. Okay, we're not a typical fund where you're going to have typical market performance, because 90% of those funds over a 10-year period lose to the index. Our fund will have more volatility and will underperform from time to time. I want to be very clear about that. However, in the long run, we think that we'll do exceptionally well because we are on the right side of where technology and humanity is going, and there'll be tremendous benefit from that. So if you look at in a 3-month time span, or a 6-month, or 1 year even, we could lose to the index. That could happen to us, no problem. However, if you measure us over 3, 5, 10 years, we are quite confident that we will do exceptionally well. And that's what we really want to talk about, that in terms of our performance.
So let's look ahead, Omar. Like February is like seasonality wise, February is the weakest month of the strongest time, but then March tends to be pretty bloody strong, guys. So we'll see if
Yep.
seasonality prevails. It certainly prevailed in the month of February. Rough month so far, right? But March tends to be a strong month for stocks. Historically, IT lags, but I don't know. I would discount seasonality a little bit here from that perspective, because there's so many new and exciting things happening in the IT space or technology space, right?
Mhm.
And we see here Nasdaq has produced an average gain of 0.6, it's positive 63% of the time. For us that we can trade with a little bit more conviction on that. We do anticipate rates in both the US and Canada. The US maybe not till the end of the summer, but certainly in Canada sooner. Who knows if there's going to be who knows what's going to happen with the Canadian election. Um, but that's kind of outside the scope of, investing in this fund, really, because, Canadian politics, in my opinion, would play like almost 0% attribution to the impact of what's in this fund outside of currency, right? But yeah. All right, let's continue on here. So, guys, if you want any more information, you can contact Omar, myself, or David Jarvis, the fund managers, Corton Capital. And yeah, one small change here, guys, is so David is a portfolio manager on the account on the fund, but as of earlier this week, I am the portfolio manager of the fund as well, right? So that
Excellent, Matthew.
yeah, that took a significant time to navigate through the OSC. They do a lot of diligence as to who they are licensing to portfolio manager, and I'm pleased to say that this came about earlier this week, and myself and the team couldn't be happier about that. So that's really awesome. Anyhow, that means that when you guys if you're new to the fund or what have you, it'll be myself and Omar which will be doing the suitability calls rather than Omar and David or somebody else, right? So at least be another familiar face, and that's really good. So onwards and upwards from here. All right, guys. Here's our disclaimer, which we'll keep on the screen for a little bit. And yeah, just take a look at that as you will from a compliance purpose. Always want to be on side there. And if there's any questions, please do let us know.
Reach out to us anytime, guys. We're more than happy to answer any questions. Thank you for joining us, and the replay will be on YouTube if you want to catch any other details, okay? Thank you,
Thank
and
you,
take
guys.
care. See you.